Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AF, our talk, asking you the question, is the Tea Party finished? Is the conservative grassroots political movement in America, are we done for? Are we finished? Should we just pack it up and go home? I want you to listen to two clips, Rob. Let's grab clips 1 and 2 from Chuck Schumer being interviewed by Jake Tapper, CNN, yesterday this morning about the results of this showdown. And here is what Chuck Schumer said, clip 1.
It was a consensus. No one had to persuade the other. We both came to the conclusion early on that we could no longer cave to this kind of brinksmanship. I'll hurt everybody else unless you give in to me. And so it was easy. And no one blinked at any one point. We knew that if we stood firm, because these Tea Party folks were so out of the mainstream. I love when, Ted Cruz says the American people lost. Well, fewer than 20% of the American people advocate his policy, which is shut the government down, don't pay your debt unless we end Obamacare. Some people want to do that, but not a majority, not even close. And so what's happened here is that this extreme group has finally been stood up to. Mm-hmm. And now maybe in an ironic way, Democrats have given mainstream Republicans some of the strength to go forward and negotiate on a reasonable basis where you get something and not everything.
So that's Chuck Schumer saying we Democrats, he's talking about himself and Harry Reid and Barack Obama, we stood together. We didn't blink. We were united. We didn't bend. We decided we weren't going to negotiate. Remember, President Obama said, well, I will compromise with anybody. I'm ready to sit down with anybody anytime, when in reality his stance was very clear. I will not negotiate anytime. And Chuck Schumer said that was our attitude. We weren't going to negotiate. We weren't going to blink. We weren't going to give in to this kind of bullying tactics from the Republican. And we wound up getting what we wanted because they folded. Now, here is clip number 2 from that exchange. Chuck Schumer talking to Jake Tapper, talking about what the Democrats gave up in order to get this agreement.
We've made big progress on the debt. The deficit is about half of what it was several years ago.
Partially because of the sequester, right?
Partially because of the sequester, partially because we raised revenues. We've made progress there. And it is a very important issue. But I'd mention there's another issue which I think is even more important. And that is that middle-class incomes in America are declining. It has never happened. In the last decade it has. And we ought to give as much focus to that as to debt reduction. I am not belittling the importance of debt reduction. I believe in it. But it is not the only issue. And with, again, the peaking of the Tea Party, I think other issues will come into play. For all we know, we may get a good immigration bill now because same thing. Small group of outliers said, I am not going to go for that. And in the past, too many Republicans in the House went along.
So Jay Carney in the White House have used the term ransom. We're not going to pay ransom. We're not going to do anything that the Tea Party wants us to do or the Republicans in the House want us to do just because they're threatening to shut down. They're threatening
to hurt innocent people.
I understand. My question is, this provision to allow income verification before Obamacare subsidies are granted,
right.
Is that not some sort of concession?
No,
it's not.
It is no change. There's a report from the Secretary of HHS to see if it's working, but there was verification. We believed in it in the bill even before these negotiations began. It is, frankly, a bit of a fig leaf, which we were happy to give, but that was not a negotiation.
So Chuck Schumer says, look, the only thing that has to do with Obamacare is income has to be verified before people get their subsidies. But Schumer says, look, that was in the law. So that didn't add anything. We did not give up anything. If the Republicans basically were stupid enough to think that represented a compromise on our part, it represented a concession on our part, if they were stupid enough to think that they actually got something there, then we were fine. We were happy to indulge them and play along with their fantasy, but there was no negotiation there. So Schumer said, look, we did not give up a single solitary thing. And he mentions this deficit being cut in half. President Obama talks about that all the time. We are reducing the deficit faster. We're cutting it in half. The deficit is dropping faster than it ever has in American history. But remember, he quadrupled it. He quadrupled it his first year in office. And now that it's half of what it used to be, it's still twice of what it was under Bush. So here's the analogy. Let's imagine you run a clothing store and you got this whiz-bang Hawaiian shirt and you start selling it for $25. and then you decide, no, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to run the price for this thing up to $100, and then I'm going to discount it to $50. So you boost the price of this $25 shirt, you run the price up to $100, and then you advertise that you are selling this shirt at 50% off. Now, if somebody is dumb enough to buy that pitch, they're going to go in there and they're going to pay twice what that shirt was worth, and they're going to think they're getting it at half price. Now, who is the fool in an arrangement like that? The fool is the one who actually believes that bilge and believes that swill. So that's what President Obama and the Democrats are pulling here with this whole cutting the deficit in half business. You know, when Schumer talks about middle-class incomes have gone down 5% during the regime of Barack Obama. They went up under Bush. Chuck Schumer's exactly right. They've gone down in the last 5 years under Obama, almost 5%. Well, who's been in charge of our economy for the last 5 years? Who is to blame for the fact that median incomes are dropping like a rock? And then there's the warning about immigration. If you oppose amnesty, rewarding illegal behavior, that makes you an outlier, in Chuck Schumer's word. We're going to find out about that. And then that whole business about verification just being a simple fig leaf. So that's Chuck Schumer declaring unconditional victory last night, basically saying the power of the Tea Party has been broken. They've peaked. They're done. Their history. Time to move on. All right, let's go back to the phones. See if you all agree with Chuck Schumer. Is the Tea Party history? Is it all done? Time to give up and go home. Let's go to John, Lottie, Florida. John, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hi.
Hey.
Thank Jesus for you taking my call.
You bet.
I just wanted to say that health care mandate, that sounds like the mark of the beast, because if you got to sign up for it, you got to take that mark. That just sounds like the mark of the beast to me.
Well, you know, it's interesting that it has the similarity in Revelation. You know, the mark of the beast meant that you could not buy and you could not sell without the approval of the beast. That was his mark. He had the mark on you. You could sell, you could buy. And I'll tell you, John, we are actually pretty far down that road before we ever got to Obamacare. You know, I've been following this story about these monks down in Louisiana. And in order to support the monastery, they were making caskets or coffins. They were handcrafted, they were well designed, and they were inexpensive because they weren't in it to make a killing. They just wanted to support the work of the monastery. And the officials in Louisiana, they said, you can't do that. We've got this caretakers union, this caretakers association, and they make all the rules about who can and cannot make caskets, and you can't. So we're going to sue you. You make another casket, we are going to sue your pants off as a monastery. Well, what is that? That's the mark of the beast. You can't buy, you can't sell without permission from the beast, without permission from the government. So anytime you've got the government involved in deciding who gets to engage in commerce and who doesn't, and they can't engage in commerce unless they get some kind of official permission from the government, that's the mark of the beast. So, and I don't argue with you, John. I'm just saying we're further down that road than most people even realize. All right, appreciate the call. Thank you for that. Let us go to Bill in Billington, West Virginia. Bill, welcome to Focal Point. Think Tea Party ought to just cash it in. Are we done? Are we finished?
No, I'll tell you what, Brian. I don't think we're at our low, at our real low yet, although we're at a low. But I believe that this is only going to increase the Tea Party like you would not believe. This time next year, see what we have to say about the Tea Party. That's what I believe.
All right.
And I'd like to say one more thing.
Yes,
maybe,
sir.
For people that they should get on that FRC website and sign that petition to Hagel.
Yep, that's right. And that has to do with what's been done to the American Family Association.
Right.
We talked about this earlier this week. Appreciate the call, Bill. And Family Research Council's got a petition that you can sign and send a letter to Chuck Hagel insisting that he protect religious liberty in the military and particular deal with this whole issue where the American Family Association was identified by our military as a hate group. We protested, you called, you responded, we alerted our nationwide network, and the Pentagon immediately retreated. I mean, you talk about unconditional surrender. They ran the white flag up the pole. We were wrong. That information was incorrect. They said that twice in their official statement. It was incorrect to label the AFA as a hate group. That presentation has been corrected. Any mention of the AFA has been removed. The soldier who made the presentation immediately recognized that he was wrong when he did that. The implication, some kind of reprimand there. And so what we need to do is insist the entire military, that the entire military be purged of this toxin and this poison and this outrageously false accusation. Let's go to Linda, Hope Mills, North Carolina. Linda, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Hey, love listening to y'all.
Thank you.
Listen, I just got something to say. I am a Hispanic American, and I have been in this country all my life. I was born here. Generations go back. I'm a hardcore Republican conservative. I'm a Democrat's worst nightmare. Now, I hear you guys all the time talking about, are we done? Is the Republican Party done? Is the Tea Party done? Far from it. Since when did we ever back down from a fight?
Amen.
Since when? And really, no. Since when? And why do we keep entertaining even the notion of constantly asking if the Tea Party is done? We're far from done. We are going to grow. We are on the side of right. We are going to grow. We're going to get stronger. And I'm getting a little frustrated with hearing AFR constantly talking about, are we done, or entertaining it. What we need to do is just keep moving forward, stop playing those games, educate people about why we believe what we believe, re-educate people. There's a lot of ignorance, and that's the problem.
All right, Linda, listen, I'll tell you why I asked that question. You want to know why I asked that question, Linda? Because I want people like you to come on this program and say that is a silly question even to ask. Good for you, Linda. And we are going to follow Hispanic American Ted Cruz right to victory. Focal Point AFR Talk back in 2 and 5.